Friends, family, and cohorts, welcome back to another episode of the Fight or Flight podcast, where we welcome remarkable people doing extraordinary things despite seemingly insurmountable odds. Today's guests are creative savants, life partners, and commercial curators. Joey and Buck from Westwood, Kansas City. And today we are celebrating them for their creativity as merchants, designers, and agents of positive change. Their story sits at an inflection point, a GoFundMe appeal splashed across Instagram, a scramble for capital to keep the vibe of a great retail shop open, and a retail landscape that is rewriting its own rules monthly. This conversation is real time. Two founders balancing dream, debt, craft, commerce, purpose, and of course, payroll. What are the hard pivots that define building better? Because I know these two guys as emphasizing guest experience and better for the purpose of positive impact and their actual cost. Gents, thanks for rocking it out with us. And today's ride, I want to get right into it with you. Does that sound good?
Let's go.
Sounds great. Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
It's my pleasure. Please paint the scene for our listeners. What does Westwood look, feel, and smell like on the day you open your doors? And I'm wondering, what will tomorrow feel like given the circumstances that you're staring down right now? Paint that picture.
So we are in Westwood, Kansas, which is literally a stone's throw from Kansas City. We're on the kind of like tiny edge corner of Johnson County, Kansas, which is kind of the
Well, we're at a point where we have like 4 of the most affluential zip codes converging near the urban area of downtown.
and if you're from Kansas City and you're talking to a greater audience and you're in Westwood, Kansas, you could still say like we're in Kansas City. Like
Nice.
everyone here would understand that.
Right.
But if you're not from here, that could be super confusing.
Yeah.
Got it. So the community is affluent. They appreciate design, home goods, curated labels. So one would think that you're locked and loaded for a great retail success.
Yeah. Another thing that appealed to us was while it is affluent, it's also diverse.
Talk about that for a minute. What diverse in what regard?
Yeah, I feel like it's culturally more diverse than some of the affluent neighborhoods further out
Into the
suburbs.
Yeah.
Okay, so welcoming of different arts, music, perspectives, all the things that converge into creating great experience and creative stuff. So I appreciate that as well. Must be difficult to curate content given the diversity of audiences that you're appealing to. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I mean, we have a pretty good grasp on who our customer is. And I feel like we've definitely figured out who that was before we opened and successfully captured that guy, which
Nice.
is kind of a store that like fathers and sons can shop in together, which is kind of rare because we do have that everyday guy kind of who wants to be stylish and cares about, looking current, but also, sprinkling in trend as well and stuff for maybe his son or maybe kind of a younger demographic as well, but not too streetwear, not too trend focused. So we're kind of that in between.
Yeah, I would say it's our customer is probably around 25, 26, all the way up into 60s.
Oh, outstanding.
So it's more about lifestyle than it is an age or one generation.
Okay. Love it. So you've been doing this for 9 years. You survived the COVID nonsense. You survived a flood above your store and the scaffolding that scared the world away, but you still thrived. I'm curious, what did you learn in those 9 years? And what have those experiences been like? And how has that shaped the position you're in today?
Yeah.
Neither of us come from the affluent backgrounds that our customers do. So when we started our business, it was us going all in with our life savings. And so we've had to be scrappy from the very beginning.
Love it.
We didn't have a backup plan. Failure was not an option for us. And so that's kind of how we had to approach all of our obstacles that would come up along the way was, just what can we do in the most scrappy way possible to fight our way through this? I would say, with COVID being an example, we had to shut down for a couple of months. There was so much uncertainty about how things were going to unfold and how long was it going to last and all that. But we used that time to completely overhaul our website, put all of our products online where, now pretty much 100% of what we sell is on our website, but before that it was, I don't know.
It was kind of, our website was like a back burner thing. It was kind of like, well, maybe we'll get some online sales, but the focus is the store.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID was our chance to like, okay, now we have time. Let's, ramp up, which is obviously the trend of online shopping was a concern of ours.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Buck completely redesigned our website during COVID. And then we also used that time to ramp up our social media. Once again, having the rare time to work on it. So we started posting daily.
And integrating social media with
the website
and the products, the e-commerce part of it.
We started curbside pickup. We did local delivery, kind of all those.
And you guys made masks and you curated candles. You did some really elevated moments that were, I thought, exceptional to liven the store, improve the mix, which was killer. And for our listeners, the visual of your store, the visual merch is gorgeous.
Thank you.
The decor, the presentation, I mean, it's top class.
I mean, that's a combination of Joey's extensive background in retail and visual merchandising, and me being a designer, multidisciplinary designer.
Not to mention the Instagram posts, which we'll put in the post notes. The humor and the comedy and the originality is just killer.
Yeah, thank you.
So I look at your store as an experience. Like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to be entertained, informed on how to dress in a casual environment. I don't feel pressured. And for me, it feels like a community hub, a place where if I was in town, I'd want to hang and just check in and see you guys. What's changed? What was the moment that took you to hit the GoFundMe page? And specifically, what's happening in business that made the crowdfunding feel like the only card left to play in today's market?
Well, kind of continuing from COVID, that was, everyone in the beginning talks about it takes 3 to 5 years, hang in there, guys, through all the reconstruction and everything we'd dealt with before COVID. And it was true. There was kind of a Kansas City we heard about like group chats, make sure you go to EULA, let's support our local businesses. And we felt it as soon as we reopened, that was the quote unquote switch we needed. And all of a sudden we had steady increased foot traffic month after month for the next 2 years. And so to kind of react to that, we added employees, we added inventory, we kind of were like, finally, we're where we need to be. And it just tapered off in 2023. I would say January of 2023, it was like, okay, we keep crushing our goals, so let's keep growing. And then not only were we not making our goals in 23, we weren't even making the previous year's numbers. And so, it was just kind of like, okay, well, we can get back to where we were. Let's try a sale. Let's, do more marketing. Let's, kind of add to our social media posts. And it just, the entire year just was not the same as the previous one. And I don't know. When I talked to customers, it was just kind of like this collective, like, well, I bought so much, I just didn't need anything last year. It's just this.
Mm.
I think there was a post COVID surge in spending, and then that bubble just tapered off.
Yeah, yeah, definitely feel like COVID disrupted a regular flow of and cycles that were happening, and it caused this moment of suppression when things were closed.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like letting, pressure build up in a pressure cooker.
Yeah.
And then things opened back up, and it was just like this huge surge of spending. We had to expand to meet the demands. We grew our staff and other aspects of our business, like the interior design part of our business. I think at one point we had 25 employees across the 3 different business units. And now we're back down to just me and Joey and
Huh.
like a part-time person.
Yeah.
Um, which just the way that we're wired, our business is very meaningful to us. And when we hire people, they become like family. Um, and so having to let go of people was one of the hardest things we've had to do. And we admittedly, we put it off for too long.
Oh yeah, I remember the
And holding on to them and having all of that payroll, even though we started not paying ourselves, that put us in a position where it made it hard for us to continue to pay for inventory and the things that needed to happen to keep the cash flow going.
Have vendors stepped up to help you guys? Are you getting extended dating? Are you getting additional discounts or anything? And I recognize that foot traffic and demand's
yeah.
an important component, but just from a
Sure.
wholesale perspective and spending so much time there, has that community stepped up, or are they feeling the pain and they're not able to lean in to throw a lifeline?
They have absolutely been awesome. All of our vendors are great partners, and
I feel
the
like they've all done as much
I
as
was
they
gonna
can.
say the thing about that is I started working with them in 23 when things slowed down, and we still had our full staff as far as like extended terms, consignment groups, anything we could to kind of keep the store full and keep it going. And then by last summer, it was just kind of like I had extended most of those agreements as far as they could go, and that's when we started getting in a scary situation of not being able to bring in enough inventory to get the sales needed. And so we've basically been kind of digging a hole ever since last summer, just trying to figure out ways to bring in capital, get loans, anything we can do to kind of fill the store back up now that we're scaled down to just us two, and kind of start fresh again.
I would say another challenge that maybe a lot of people aren't hearing much about. I feel like it's not in the news that much right now. For lots of small businesses like us who took out the COVID EIDL loans
Mm-hmm.
in order to survive during that moment of uncertainty, those loans are now due. I mean, they've been due. They were starting to be due last year. But with our situation under the Biden administration last fall, we were able to apply for it was called a hardship accommodation plan
Mm-hmm.
through the SBA for those COVID loans. And it was a really lengthy process for the men's store. I mean, it took months to get everything approved. And so we got accepted into the hardship accommodation plan. That took our payment from what was about like $3,400 a month and made it $340 a month. And you got to do it for a 6-month period. And then you got 4 chances to do those 6-month periods at a reduced rate. And it's kind of like, I think the first 2 times you were able to get the 10% of your payment, and then it would kind of gradually go up for the next 2 times. But under the new administration, we just found out, I think it was in June, I went in to our portal to renew and discovered that the new administration had eliminated hardship accommodation plan.
No notice? You discovered it on your own. There was no proactive outreach to let you know you were in.
Mm-mm.
No,
So
not unless you
self-discover.
logged into the portal and you happen to see a little thing that comes up and it says that that hardship accommodation plan has been eliminated. Yeah, so that was one aspect of you know what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah,
It
complexity.
was something that we were counting on to help us, continue to fight and try and turn things around as we have like another year and some months of our lease. So
Has a landlord stepped up, a rent abatement, or any support there? Or are they more structured and saying, no, this is the way we operate our business and we can't offer a hardship help?
I mean, I would say like our vendors, our landlord has helped as much as they can, but
Lovely.
at some point,
Sure.
they also have to watch out for their own
Of course.
business. So
The other thing the idle loan kind of did with us, which, not making excuses, we took out the loan. We didn't know what was happening with the world, and we took advantage of what was offered. But when things slowed down and we mismanaged payroll and kind of needed some help, for the last year, we've been, working with small business lenders, banks, investors, and we're just overextended because of that SBA loan from COVID.
so yeah, it's
So
prevented us from getting other
yeah,
loans.
and so
Mhm.
we'll work with them for months on updated financials and projections, and everything's going well, and it seems like this might be the person that's going to help us, and then it always ends up as a like, you guys just have too much debt. It's
Yeah.
like, oh. So this is
So that's
Speaking
kind of
of-
what led us to doing this GoFundMe.
Yeah.
We're just like we get it. We don't need more debt, but we're also not ready for this story to end.
Amen. So I checked the GoFundMe page. You're 8% this morning to goal. Is there is that on pace where you thought you would be? And how long will the GoFundMe page stay open? How much runway you have? How fast is the burn? And what is that
Yeah.
doing to the conversation?
I mean, I think our goal would be to ideally, if we could reach our goal in the next 4, 6, 8 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
that would be the ideal situation so that we can have the funds to fully restock our store for fall, which is like our biggest season.
Right.
So if we can do that, then we feel that we can have a sustainable chance at surviving. So yeah, the sooner the better. But, let's say if we raise 2/3 of it and we were able to buy fall's inventory, but there was still a third left, then we could leave it open a little longer to keep heading towards that goal.
Yeah. Hey guys, I applaud you. To ask for help takes a level of humility and vulnerability that many don't have. And I recognize you as putting your egos aside in business and leaning into the purpose. And I want to talk about that in a minute, but just a little feedback. You two have always impressed me as self-reliant. And so I'm appreciative of that. And in business, as in life, mistakes happen. I've always known you to own up to those and take quick and adaptive measures to change. So the dynamic of payroll and wanting community to stay employed is admirable. And it doesn't take away from being a disciplined merchant or investor. It's a reality of wanting to support a community that is beloved to you and product assortments. So what I'm learning from this conversation, guys, is we can't blame direct to consumer or necessarily retail consolidation as the seminal moment, but more a matter of the COVID reset and the circumstances after COVID that changed the trajectory of your business. Is that a fair summary?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all of the outside influences that were going on in the world, along with us doing the best we knew how at the time. And it's easy to say, looking back, oh, we should have done this and that, but at the time, it felt like we were doing what we needed to do in order to grow and expand. We just didn't realize how quickly that surge was going to take a turn, and that there was not going to be a bounce back. In the past, whenever we had a slow month, we were able to dig our heels in, do a bunch of extra marketing,
Right.
come up with some extra events, and make up for the difference.
Yes.
But that it's not that way anymore. We haven't been able to do that.
So looking at the GoFundMe page, we have about 260, 270 donations. So coming off this podcast, we're asking friends, family, and cohorts if it's as small as $1 or as great as $1,000, whatever we can contribute. We want to lean in and make that contribution. It's a tax deduction, and it will allow an important merchant to restock the store. These aren't funds that are going to be used to, underwrite a lifestyle. It are funds that are going to be used to create a merchant that's important to a community in a tough spot. Having shared that, I'd like to pivot for a moment and ask you a question that has been burning on my mind for a minute. In business, my experience having worked in the wholesale environment is that when cash is tight, we're not making plan now, the creativity is often the first casualty. If I'm missing budget, then the cool stuff that I got planned and the cool product gets killed. How do you maintain your DNA and that love of community activation and original content when the margins are shrinking? And how do you keep marketing as a purpose and not a luxury as you're defending every dollar that comes in to pay down the circumstances you're dealing with?
Yeah. We did shift our social media in the last year, just noticing the trends of less direct selling, less product showing, and, less polished, to kind of letting people into your world as far as life partners running a store together, as far as the humor of our staff and the personalities of each other and our dynamic. And so we have kind of used some of the time of less foot traffic to kind of focus on having more fun on social media, and it's
working. I mean, the stuff's awesome.
Well. Thank you.
Yeah.
The hard part about it for me is I'm like, man, if we had grasped this change earlier from the beginning. But, it's easy to say that looking back now. And I also feel like that trend has been an evolution. It wasn't always that way. Yeah. When we first started, it was about showing your beautiful products and having a beautiful Instagram grid. And, that's changed over the course of the 9 years. Yeah, we're just trying to change with it. But also what I like about it is that we're able to tap in to the soul of our brand in a new way and showing some behind the scenes and the peek into our lives and our dynamics. I think that's what people seem to really be responding to now.
And they are, because the conversation about guest experience and specialty retail is emerging as ever more important as people are tired of commodity. In my opinion, that's the department store model where it all looks the same nationally. And we're getting back to that character and grit that comes from the local merchant that assorts and creates that specialty.
One other aspect of the challenge that we're facing that I wonder how it's going to play out over time is this concept of a store like ours being the middleman between a brand and the purchaser.
We'll lean into that.
I'm hoping that that's not dying out.
Right.
But something that we're noticing, and a challenge that we're noticing, is that customers will come into our beautiful store, find or discover a new brand, find some pieces they like. Oftentimes we've heard that they'll leave our store and then they're already suddenly being marketed to by a brand that we sell, or they may just
notice it now.
Notice it now, or they may just start following it. Oh, I love this brand, Wax London. Let's start following Wax London. Well, then they start getting sold to directly from the brand. And I think customers just don't think, they're focused on, oh, that meets my need and it's convenient for me to click buy once they show me that piece. Not thinking, oh, I should go continue and buy it from the store first before I click buy from the brand. So that is one new change in retail that I feel like a lot of us small boutique curators are going to have to face and deal with.
Well, I appreciate that. I had a conversation with a retailer recently up in Buffalo, and he's changed his product assortment to have private label
Hmm.
Mm.
specifically for that reason, which is no easy feat. And I'm not talking about color ups or screen printing. I'm talking about sourcing factory direct, making minimums, building the staff out because they recognize it. Now they leaned into the jewelry component to it, so a little different than cut and sew or footwear, but
Yeah.
that is a complexity. And if we look at Nike, they opened their Nike towns because they felt they could merchandise better than their wholesale distribution. And then they started putting pressure, as others have, on wholesale. So I appreciate what you're leaning in on. That community return on investment in shopping local is important. And I think the public needs to wake up and realize that shopping for convenience isn't necessarily what's best for me, you, and the others. Personal opinion. I don't mean to pontificate, but I shop
Right.
local.
Well, it just worries me, like how are you going to discover brands in the future if there are no boutiques anymore, you know?
Yeah. If the curators all go away
Yeah.
and you're just being sold to directly from each brand, I mean, I just think that's a pendulum swing that's going to have to. I'm hoping it doesn't have to swing all the way over to that end, and people to feel the loss of that before it swings back.
And they have to take into account that part of shopping is tactile. You got to touch and feel. Part of it's fit, and the free
Right.
shipping and returns is going to stop at some point in time. So I can't buy 3 pair of shoes and 4 pair of jeans and return
Yeah.
whatever doesn't fit because fit's not standardized. So every
Right.
brand fits differently. So there's a reality to this that needs to be sorted out to some level. And I appreciate you bringing that up. That's critical. So it's interesting, guys. When I got in business, this was all location, location, location. And then it was location plus relationship and location plus relationship. And then do you have an eye as a buyer so you can assort better? And it seems like all of those old, I hate to use the word old because it dates me, but I feel like they're out the window today. It's like the Wild West. It's a new frontier.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Our location has been a good thing and a bad thing. You know, we're a destination, which is good. We've
Mhm.
built relationships, which is good, but we don't get general tourist foot traffic. We're in a neighborhood, we're not in a shopping district. So I don't know. I wonder if those old, as you said, you know, tropes are going to also come back in the pendulum because I think location is important. And we do have a year and some months left on our lease, and that is something we're going to have to think about if we continue on. Do we change locations?
Roger that.
Yeah. It's just kind of making sure that you're positioned in the flow of people's lives that you're trying to reach. You know.
Difficult. Yeah. And then you change locations. Does the community follow, or are you in a new community? In which case, then the marketing engine readjusts. So I
Yeah.
understand the complexities. Can I pivot for a moment?
Sure.
I'd like to ask a personal question. Your personal partnership at work and at home, you're in a pressure cooker. How does the business strength put pressure on the relationship? And what lessons have you learned about what you're going through in business to better navigate your relationship together? And I ask that because there are many people out there dealing with a lot of business pressure and trying to maintain harmony and balance at home.
Yeah. And there is no balance for sure.
Right.
And it's a struggle for us too, but we had this idea for a business a year into dating. We didn't even live together
Mm-hmm.
yet, and even just the challenges of getting the store open, we just handle so well together. We don't fight. I feel like any compromise we make ends up as a better solution. You know, good friends said you guys do not do this, you know, should not
Mhm.
start a business. It's going to affect your families. It's going to, you know, affect your home life. And we just, I can't explain it, but we just knew that there wasn't a threat to the relationship. We just work well together. But the definitely a challenge is, obviously leaving work at home and
Sure.
Or leaving work at work, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know the difference.
No, it's good. I
Yeah.
understand, especially as a sole entrepreneur, the two of you're living and breathing it every day. So there's a level of compatibility with the two of you and compassion for one another where you're able to be considerate and not let the pressure bleed into beating one another up. So I appreciate that you maintain perspective. And I think
Yeah. And I think
perspective is balance.
also, I think when we're home, giving the other person the grace and the space that they need to recharge, I think is important.
I don't know when it happened, but at some point we got much better at leaving work at work and just having that, even if it's just a couple hours in the evening, to just not talk about work, have
Great.
a good meal, talk about anything else. I feel like we can do that well now, although this current stress
Yes.
has definitely crept into the before bed
Yeah. I think it's because there's such
sleepless nights.
Yeah.
there's such a sense of urgency now. We are working day and night, and working on the next day's email in the evening. Just all those things.
Thanking people who've donated,
Right.
through the night, and so the balance is very off right now. But I feel like under normal circumstances, we got pretty good at leaving work at work and
Yeah.
being a couple.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And what I'm taking away from this, to paraphrase, is staying in the moment. They say anxiety is worrying about the future, but it sounds, and you're keenly aware of the future. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But you're
Yeah.
able to also at times enjoy a meal and just say, all right, we're going to ignore the noise and we got to
Mhm.
stay thankful for what we have together today at this moment. And then we can readdress tomorrow once again. So
Yeah, I think July 4th was a good example. That was since last fall, we've had Thanksgiving Day off, Christmas, New Year's, Memorial Day, and then July 4th. So, other than that, we've been working every day. And July 4th was we finally had a full day off together.
mm,
We took our bikes out it's one of our passions. We like to take our bikes out on long trails and go for long rides. And
Just recharge.
yeah.
and just recharge in nature. And so that we took that opportunity. And I did have the thought about, while we were doing it, I'm like, and how cool is it that we can go do this thing together, which is great that we're doing it together, but there's also a individual recharging that happens when we're doing that, because we don't even have to say a word to each other. We can just each be on our bikes. We're riding together, but separate, and just both kind of enjoying our time in nature. I remember thinking about that's just such a great example of, I think, of how to do that.
Of the balance. Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
appreciate that. A brief pivot here. I'd like to lean back into the GoFundMe because that's mission critical for us. And I look at that as future proofing, right? Let's protect the future. So if the GoFundMe closes the gap, what structural business changes will be made that will keep you from needing another lifeline next year?
Just watching the costs with a very sharp eye. A lot of what we did just out of our backgrounds and what we knew how to do was off instinct, and it worked for a while. If I had a big vendor payment coming up, I could, kind of watch the dollars here and there. And then I knew that this weekend I would be able to use those funds for that big payment. It was just this very you could just have this instinctual grasp on how it's all going to work, and it all worked, and it did for a while, but it was a very delicate, puppet show of balance. And then when that was off balance and you're just trying to still do it that way, it just didn't work. And so making the time to analyze our financials and any costs we have that we can cut, or not let affect our cash flow if sales aren't what they need to be. And we have scaled back dramatically. So I feel like even if we don't do the revenue we did, a few years ago, we'll be able to at least get back on our feet, get all of our bills paid, and I kind of see this as like a re-beginning. We're kind of like starting over from the beginning, and
Back in startup mode, but with a lot of new knowledge.
exactly,
Outstanding.
exactly.
Yeah. Sometimes experience is the greatest teacher. And so
Yeah.
I'm sorry it's coming with the hardship that it is. But I appreciate your humility and transparency and the passion and wanting to keep this dream and purpose alive. We're starting to wrap up the end of the pod. I've got two quick questions for you, if I may, and then give you a chance to lean into whatever you'd like to share. I'd like to do an industry call out. Is there one polite lie that the wholesale or retail community keeps proliferating, and you're done pretending that that mantra or that storyline is true?
For me, the one that I just instantly thought of was that perfection is an illusion.
Repeat that, please.
That perfection is an illusion.
Okay.
And I think it's this pressure as a small business owner, as a brand, as a personality presenting yourself to the audience and social media. It's the pressure to, and I would say even to your competition, it's this pressure to portray perfection and that you have everything
Got it.
going smoothly and that everything's curated just fine and positioned just correctly. And, I feel like this has really taught us just to make sure we don't lose the authenticity and the genuine nature of who we are, and what is it about the heart and soul of our brand that we really want to share, and kind of let that take priority.
So that old cliche, fake it till you make it's bullshit, and people need to get real and start dealing with the real stuff sooner. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I get
It
it.
only works for so long.
Right,
Yeah.
right. I got you, man. I really appreciate that. Lastly, sort of a legacy check, because I love talking about legacies. Let's dream again, if we can. 10 years from now, when someone retells the EULA KC story, what do you hope they'll say about this specific chapter and the next chapter?
I would hope that they say that this chapter was about, that it ended with vulnerability, transparency, honesty, and integrity.
Mm.
And that we kept our focus on the community and showed gratitude for our relationship with the community.
I'm going to bring it back to fight or flight, like the
Yeah.
podcast. And we're those, people say those guys fought and hopefully made it through.
I want to thank the two of you. You supported me when I was at John Varvatos. You supported me when I was at Rag & Bone. You tested my product at Jay's Shoes. I've recognized you as having a keen eye and a willingness to try things that were different that you thought would resonate when many wouldn't. And I'm grateful for those experiences with you all. The grit that you're bringing forward, I think, will pay dividends. I don't know how quickly, but I believe in positivity, and I applaud you guys for taking the time here, for launching the GoFundMe page, and for continuing those great Insta posts, which are hilarious. I would like to take a moment before our outro to give you an opportunity to speak to the audience. If that's how do people get in touch with you, if there's people that want to consult or lend a point of view or offer consignment or whatever it might be, how would you like that content pushed to you? And any messaging you like to push out there, we'd love to hear from you right now.
Yeah, I'd love that idea. Anyone who would love to help us in any way, they could email me directly if they'd like, at joey@eulahkc.com.
ULAHKC.com.
Yeah.
JOEY at
Correct.
ULAHKC.com. Got it.
Yeah.
And if you want to support the GoFundMe, you can find our GoFundMe link at our link in bio on Instagram or any of our social media, which is at ULAHKC. You can also find it on our website and read more about our story. We have a recent blog post that talks about our story going up to date.
Wonderful.
And that website is eulahkc.com. So ULAHKC.com.
Outstanding. You just had a post reach over 1 million views. So there's clearly a community and awareness that's waiting for some conversion. Debt can be stifling. So I know you're fighting through it. Wink, wink, fight or flight, right? Sorry, bad humor. But more than anything else, I appreciate you being part of our community now and a participant on our podcast. And I will push as hard as I can to bring new eyes and new people to this fight. Stay strong, stay hungry. I recognize you as honest, truthful, transparent individuals, and I'm grateful to have you in my circle.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much.